In this video, I want to talk about something what we call here at Dev Team mixed teams. It's a fancy term, but it's actually just simply means combination of onshore and offshore software development, in which we use onshore located people, so basically software engineers or business analysts or any other team members who are located in the home country of the client, to completely eliminate all the drawbacks and disadvantages of offshore software development and also amplify its benefits and advantages. So to provide this type of service, of course, we have to have people and teams in different areas of the world, and we do have them. So for example, biggest part of our team is located in Eastern Europe and some countries nearby. So it's Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, Georgia. We also expand into some other countries nearby, and also we have small but growing team in Latin America, Argentina, and we have small but growing team here in the United States in Los Angeles area, which is basically what I mean when I'm saying onshore. So for us, for our team, like right now, onshore is the United States and especially Los Angeles area, where you can meet with the people even in person. But we're also very open to expand our business to countries like UK, Australia, Germany, Switzerland, and basically to any other country where onshore software development makes sense and offshore software development can be beneficial. So now let's jump into the main topic of this video, is why do we need this combination and how this combination helps to resolve some of the well-known issues of offshore software development. Let me start from simply mentioning that there were many companies who worked with offshoring, offshore-based teams, and they were completely disappointed. Their projects failed and they never want to work with offshore-based companies again. So why has it happened? We need to analyze it to understand how not to repeat the same mistakes, and that's why we need mixed teams, because they fix all of those mistakes. But let's start also from enumerating all the advantages, benefits, why companies want to work with offshore-based teams. First of them is, of course, cost savings. That's the most important one. Many companies just won't be able to afford software development, for example, in the United States, hiring only United States-based companies. For small businesses, it's almost impossible. It's very, very expensive. And in Eastern Europe, when it comes to Eastern Europe, hourly rates for software engineers, for top-level talent will be like 3-4 times cheaper. When it comes to Latin America, 2-3 times cheaper. So of course, it's an enormously big discounts when it comes to a long period of time, over a long period of time on a big teams, you will save a lot of money. Second advantage, especially has become obvious during the COVID. So demand in software engineering industry right now is so high that it's very difficult to find developers. And if you are looking for developers only among your local talent, it will be even more difficult. And when it comes to education in Latin America or in Eastern Europe, education is on extremely high level. And basically it means if you are thinking that American, like United States-based developers better, more skillful than developers from the Eastern Europe and Latin America, then it's not true. I mean, it's approximately the same level. Sometimes you can find better developers in Eastern Europe, sometimes you can find better developers in the United States, but overall education level when it comes to software engineering, high in all of those regions of the world. So for companies who maybe not even need those cost savings, but they need to find talent as fast as possible, it becomes a very good opportunity to go to Eastern Europe or to go to Latin America and find talent there too. So that's second advantage. Now let's go through every disadvantage and a red flag of offshoring and try to understand why so many companies fail their projects when it comes to offshoring and how we can fix those disadvantages. Let's talk about mixed teams and how we fix them. Let's imagine that in our fixed team, let's imagine the simplest possible case. In our fixed team, we have only one person who is located in the home country of the client. So for example, in our case, we would have in Los Angeles, business analyst, project manager type of person. So it's basically a person who can communicate with the client and who can translate business requirements to tickets in Jira or in Trello or in any other tool that we want to use for software engineers, and who will be able to communicate with them. So the most well-known disadvantage of offshoring is, of course, time zone difference. So when it comes to time zone difference, if you work with, for example, Eastern Europe, then you will have to stay really late, or you will have to wake up really early. It depends on how you're going to synchronize with your team. But if you have at least one person, business analyst, project manager type of person in the United States, then in this case, you as a client communicate with our business analyst in Los Angeles, and then this business analyst basically stays late or wakes up early for you and communicates with the team. Of course, it's better to have more people, not only business analysts, for example, the senior software engineer and maybe someone more, but when it comes again, it's a subjective call. If you want more people located onshore or you want more people located on offshore, it's a subjective call, and usually it means you make it based on how much money you want to save and how much convenience you want to get. So more onshore is more convenient, more offshore it's more affordable services. Second well-known issue is the cultural barrier. Many clients underestimate how important it is, but it's very important. Let me give you a couple of examples. So let's talk about India first. In India, especially before, it becomes better and better with time because cultures learn how to work with each other, but especially before, it was very well known that they will promise you to deliver everything in basically on any conditions that you ask. You want to deliver you a rocket ship in one day for $100, of course they're going to do it. But in reality, no, of course they're not, because it's impossible. It's impossible to do that, but they will still promise you. And in Western cultures, in the United States, it's much, you actually expect that if somebody promises you something, that then they're going to execute on it, their promises. They're going to deliver high quality products, scalable, maintainable, bug-free solution, and on time. That's exactly what we do here. But that's not the case in India. The difference between cultures, so you have to know such minor issues when you communicate with them. In Eastern Europe, it's a completely different issue. So in Eastern Europe, there is no such thing as small talk. And again, this line is disappearing with time, but it's still the issue there. So people from Eastern Europe may come up a little bit more rude than what you got used to, and that can be an issue for some of our clients. We actually had this experience, but it was an issue before. Now, when it comes to Latin America, this cultural difference is less significant, and again, rates in Latin America higher, so you don't have this time zone difference. You have less significant cultural difference. It's easy to communicate with those people, especially for people from the United States, but rates are higher, so you have to overpay for it too. And when it comes to onshoring, you don't have any of those disadvantages, and again, you have to overpay even more. So again, when we have mixed teams, when you have people who are located here, you don't have this cultural difference. Because you're working either with native speakers, it's also related to third point that I'm going to make, or you work with immigrants who work in the United States for a really long time. Now, you may think that it's not a good option to work with immigrants, but actually in some cases it can be a good option. Why? Because of the third point. And third point is the language barrier. So of course, when you're working with offshoring, you speak with people who are not native speakers, and their language skills can be much lower than what you would expect. So for example, when I'm interviewing some people from Eastern Europe, and then I'm saying to our clients that they have a good language, what I mean that they have a good language for Eastern Europe. You personally may not consider it's like the best language, but it will be very difficult to find somebody with a better language from there. But when it comes to mixed teams, again, you have a person who works, who lives here for a really long time, and they have either native speakers or fluent speakers, and they're immigrants with a fluent English language. So second option sometimes even better. Why? Because those people will be managing people from another country. For example, if your offshore team located in Poland and they speak Polish, then your project manager ideally would be able to speak Polish and also English to communicate with American-based team and with the client. So sometimes it can be a really good option too. And because it's a fluent English, you almost won't see any difference. Fourth point that is worth to mention is legal system. So basically, when you, for example, have an agreement between the United States and Belarus, you won't be able to enforce it. NDAs are not working. Agreements is just a simple piece of paper. But in our case, well, again, it's also worth to mention that, for example, if you have an agreement with Poland, it's worth much more. But in Poland, again, rates are higher than in Belarus, so it's always the same compromise. And in our case, we have our company located in the United States, so you can have agreement between between your company and company in the United States, and the United States is well known for its strong legal system, and you can have your peace of mind knowing that. And that's probably the most important points that I wanted to mention when it comes to onshore and offshore software development. Of course, there are some other points why offshore projects fail. It's because of incorrect management, if not enough expertise, and then also because companies try sometimes upsell their clients and sell junior developers and to introduce them as a senior developers, and you won't be able to sue them because of the legal issues. And also it's difference in business culture. In some countries it's just considered acceptable, what of course is not acceptable in Western world, in the United States particularly. So now there are some issues that are related to not enough expertise, and I'm going to cover those issues too, but in another video when I'm covering our process and how exactly we work and how our process works. But it's not related to onshore, offshore. It's more related to expertise of the company, and if the company knows how to manage people, how to deliver software-based products. Also, there is always compromise between how many people you want offshore and onshore. More people offshore, more affordable services, more people onshore, more convenient and easy to work option. We even have one of our, it's a small team, but we have small team of completely onshore software development engineers, and client weekly meets with our team in LA and communicate with them one-on-one directly. So for many people it can be very good option. And if you want the best possible cost savings, then of course you go completely offshore, but you have to be willing to sacrifice convenience, and you have to deal with different cultures, with language barrier and with a time zone barrier. Now, if you found this interesting, then also if you still want to understand how our process works and how we make sure that our process works without any mistakes, well-known mistakes, then you can also watch our video about our process, or you can just connect with me on my social media, send me your questions, and we can talk, and maybe we will be able to work on something together. Maybe you have some project for us. So just send me a message and we will go from there.